We've all seen serious mobility assistance equipment, and let's be honest, it often means heavy, bulky,
Hmm.
sometimes permanent fixtures that, they kind of anchor you to one spot in your home.
Exactly.
But what if your life, or the life of someone you're caring for, really demands flexibility? What if you need something that's powerful enough for daily use, but light enough to just fold up, put in the trunk, and travel with? A product that really tries to thread that needle. The SuperHandy Goreye's LT portable floor and bath lift.
Right. So our mission today is to dig into the specs, get past the shiny marketing claims.
You're looking at a lift that's supposed to handle a serious amount of weight, but the device itself weighs next to nothing.
It does. I mean, when you hear floor and bath lift, you immediately picture steel tubing, heavy mechanisms. But the Super Handy Gore Eyes LT weighs, get this, just 19 pounds?
19 pounds.
That's only about 8.6 kilograms. I mean, put that into perspective for you. That is lighter than most carry-on suitcases once you've actually packed them.
That's virtually unheard of in this category.
It is. It's genuinely designed for one person to be able to pick up, maneuver, load into a car.
And that's where the contrast really hits. So 19 pounds, but what can it handle?
It supports a maximum capacity of up to 330 pounds or 150 kilograms. So that immediately qualifies it to accommodate a very wide range of users and safely.
So how on earth do they do that? I mean, what kind of materials science gets you that kind of strength to weight ratio?
Well, our sources confirm they got that balance by using a combination of durable aluminum alloys and these high-strength engineered plastics.
So it's a very deliberate choice.
Oh, completely. It's non-negotiable. To keep that weight down but guarantee the capacity, every single component has to be optimized. The structure is just inherently strong. It doesn't rely on sheer mass for stability like older lifts. It relies on smart geometry.
So the idea is it doesn't need to be bolted down. It's just the engineering itself manages the load.
Precisely. And then, to make it even more travel-friendly, it's also foldable. You can break it down pretty easily for storage and transport.
Okay, but here's where we hit our first practical trade-off.
Yes, well, it folds. The folded dimensions are still, well, they're about 28.9 inches long by 17.7 inches wide. It's almost 5 inches high.
That gives us the full picture, so it's not going to just disappear into a drawer or something.
No.
The sources, they did note that the footprint, while it's slim, is still fairly large, so it's portable, but you do need to budget some space for it.
Right. It's not going to slide invisibly under a small couch.
Yeah.
But if you compare those dimensions to a fixed system, or even the older, bulkier portable lifts, this is miles ahead. It really does achieve high portability within its class.
And that's what really matters, because for you, the person listening, if you need a lift that you can easily store away, maybe when family visits or, and this is the big one you can load into the car for a trip, this is explicitly one of the most accessible options out there. That lightweight strength is the absolute core of its appeal.
And moving on from that purely structural design, we have to talk about the absolute key feature for any bath lift. Water safety.
Yeah.
And hygiene.
Right?
This is where the Super Handy Garage LT really separates itself from something that's just, water resistant.
Yeah, safety in a fully wet environment, especially when you have a battery and electrical parts, that's non-negotiable. So what's the official rating, and what does that actually mean for the user?
It carries an IP68 waterproof rating.
IP68.
And when you're looking at these waterproofing standards, you want to focus on that final number, the 8.
Okay.
It's actually 2 numbers. The 6 means it's totally dust tight, so no fine particles getting into the housing. But the 8, that means it's designed for continuous full submersion in water.
Which is critical for a bath lift. I mean, if it only had, say, an IPX4 rating, which is pretty common for electronics,
You'd be in trouble.
right, you'd risk damage from just a splash, but you couldn't actually lower it all the way into the tub.
Exactly. An IP68 rating means this device can sit right at the bottom of the tub, fully submerged, with no risk of damage to the motor or the battery. It just opens up the possibilities for how and where you can use it. It makes it reliable for a long soak, not just a quick transfer.
That's a huge advantage for the user experience. You just don't have to worry about the electricals.
Absolutely. And then beyond the waterproofing, stability is crucial during the actual lift, especially when you're talking about that 330-pound limit.
Sure.
So to counteract that low device weight, they gave it a really wide base. It measures 23.6 inches by 16.1 inches.
And that wider footprint just adds to the stability.
It contributes significantly, yeah.
Right.
Even when you're lifting a user at the top end of that capacity range.
And what about the range of motion? How low does it go for something like a floor recovery, and how high to make transfers safe?
The height adjustment starts incredibly low, just 2 inches off the ground,
2 inches.
which is essential if you're helping someone up after a fall. But then it extends securely all the way up to 20 inches high. And that 20-inch maximum is high enough to facilitate transfers onto most standard surfaces, the edge of a tub, a higher bed frame.
And when you look at that user experience, you have to think about the caregiver, too. The features that support them can sometimes be the most important. And what does the seat design offer them?
This is a major area where the design really shines. The ergonomic seat has features that directly address caregiver strain, specifically removable side panels.
Okay, that sounds like a minor detail.
It sounds minor, but it's a huge benefit because it supports easier lateral transfers.
Let's pause there. Let's make sure we define that clearly for everyone listening. What is a lateral transfer, and why is that so important here?
A lateral transfer is just a side-to-side move from the lift seat onto, say, a wheelchair or the edge of the bed. If those side panels were fixed, the caregiver would have to physically lift the user up and over that panel.
Which is awkward and risky.
Very. Or reposition the whole lift. By making the panels removable, the caregiver can just slide the user easily sideways after lifting. It dramatically reduces the physical effort, the strain, and frankly, the risk involved in that transfer.
It makes perfect sense. It turns the lift into an extension of the surface you're moving to rather than an obstacle.
Exactly. And hygiene in the bath is another huge concern, right? Standing water is just a recipe for problems.
Mold, slipperiness.
All of it. So they address that with what they call the quick drain system. The seat and the base both have dedicated drain holes built right in.
So no water pooling up while the user is sitting there.
Correct. It prevents water from accumulating on or under the lift, which is vital. It reduces slipperiness, a major safety concern, and it really improves hygiene. It makes the cleanup afterwards so much easier. This feature got a lot of positive feedback in the reviews we saw.
The sources also mentioned something about the motor being smooth. That has to be essential for user comfort.
Oh, absolutely. The review from First Class Mobility, they noted that the streamlined motor and actuator ensure a really smooth, quiet lift. Jerky movements are startling, they're uncomfortable, and potentially dangerous.
Especially for older or more frail users.
Right. A smooth, quiet motor doesn't just improve the experience, it also suggests less wear and tear on the components over time.
Okay, so we've covered the big strengths. Talk about the power source. What does it mean for real-world, day-to-day use?
It runs on a 26-volt, 51.8 Wh Li-ion battery, and the usage limit is where you have to manage your expectations. It delivers up to about 30 full lift cycles per charge.
30 cycles. That sounds okay on paper, but if you're using it intensively every day, that number shrinks fast.
It really does.
If a user needs help getting into and out of the bath once a day, that's 2 cycles right there.
Precisely. So for one bath a day, you're recharging it every 2 weeks or so. But if you have multiple users, or you're also using it for floor recovery in addition to bathing, say, 4 cycles a day, that battery life drops to maybe a week.
And what about long-term costs? Batteries don't last forever.
That's the other thing our sources point to. A long-term cost is the inevitable battery replacement.
Yeah.
Lithium-ion batteries degrade over time, and a replacement for a high-capacity medical-grade battery can be pretty substantial. It's a recurring expense you have to factor in.
Okay, let's talk about the controls. We live in a wireless world, everything is Bluetooth, but that's not what we have here, is it?
No, and that's definitely one of the trade-offs they made, probably to maintain cost and ensure that water safety. The lift is operated with a wired remote control.
So the remote itself is waterproof.
Yes, it's also IP68. But that wire, it introduces a few inconveniences.
I can imagine. Beyond just tangling, what's the issue in a small, wet space like a bathroom?
Well, you have to manage the wire carefully. It could be a tripping hazard if it's on the floor, or it might get caught on the base of the lift. Caregivers have to be really mindful of where that remote is while they're helping the user. It's just a point of potential friction compared to the more expensive, fully wireless options.
And speed. That's another area where this portable design sacrifices a bit for stability and quietness.
Yes. The speed of the lift is slow. It's clocked at around 9 millimeters per second.
9 millimeters a second? That's, what, about a third of an inch per second?
It's a very deliberate, almost creeping speed.
That sounds like it could feel painfully slow for someone who's anxious to get a transfer done.
It may feel that way for some users, yeah, especially those who really prioritize speed. But the slow speed is a calculated engineering trade-off. It's what allows for that smooth, quiet motor we talked about. That deliberate pace prevents any sudden, dangerous jerks or shifts in balance, which is absolutely paramount when you're wet and vulnerable.
Okay, and let's wrap up the trade-offs with the warranty. What kind of long-term assurance do users get?
The product comes with a 1-year limited warranty. And, given the mechanical complexity, the cost, and the heavy daily reliance on a device like this, the sources really suggest that users should look into an extended warranty or service options for peace of mind beyond that first year.
So we've laid out the incredible strengths and the very necessary drawbacks. What's the consensus from the people who actually use this thing day in and day out? Are those trade-offs worth the portability?
The real-world feedback is overwhelmingly positive. It specifically confirms that the core design features, they actually deliver. User reviews we saw confirm the value of that wider base, the stability is real, and that the drain holes work perfectly.
So the engineering really does translate into practical success.
Absolutely. One user comment we saw in a mobility forum called it the best option they had found. And they specifically highlighted that crucial balance. It is lightweight, but it feels incredibly strong and secure.
That says it all, really.
It does. The general feeling is that for a portable, non-fixed lift, the SuperHandy Garage LT performs admirably within its design.